And what makes our temple really a temple are really not necessarily the building or the construction, but what it houses inside. So in our sanctuary, we have a holy ark with a everlasting a ner tamid, which is harkens back to the days of the holy temple in Jerusalem. And in our holy ark, we have two Torah scrolls. The Torah scrolls are the 5 books of Moses. They're written in a particular way. They're written on animal skin, on parchment. They're sewn together with sinew. And those books are really what makes the space a holy space. So once those Torah scrolls are removed from the space actually becomes less holy. So in a Jewish house of worship, those particular scrolls are what makes the space a holy space where we come together and pray. But I'm sure, like other houses of worship, we have a prayer sanctuary, we have a social hall, we have a kitchen, we have classrooms, we have televisions, we have an area for coffee. So the Jewish community is not unlike any other faith tradition. I'm sure if you walk into other houses of worship, they're also they're going to look kind of similar. I'm sure you're going to have big multi-purpose spaces to use, to configure, to have celebrations of life. Weddings, God forbid, when people pass away, celebrations of life, services for burial, and welcoming children into the faith as well. So that's kind of why we have these buildings and the structures that we come together for prayer, and not only for prayer, but also for social functions as well.
Does anyone else want to ask a question off of those statements you said? We're good. Okay. Now, who wants to do the virtual ritual, or do you guys want me to go ahead and have him talk about himself and kind of like his journey and stuff like that?
Yeah, I feel like it would be better if we talk about like some ritual or like the way they worship, like, you know, like those aspects of it. Would be helpful, yeah.
What's the specific question?
Okay, so we kind of want to know like the purpose, like the meaning behind everything, and like kind of like a short little description
of our ritual.
Yes.
Okay, so we pray facing east. East is, you know, towards Jerusalem, towards really Israel, really facing, you know, Israel as our spiritual homeland. And the rituals, we pray 3 times a day traditionally. However, at the temple that I'm the rabbi of, our services are on YouTube Friday and Saturday. For the Sabbath is really the essential holiday of us as the Jewish community, our Sabbath. So the Sabbath starts Friday evening at sundown. It goes until Saturday at sundown. It's a day of rest, a day of not only a day of physical rest, but of spiritual rest, a day to connect with God, to partner with God. And we have many holidays. On this Friday, not only is the Sabbath, but it's also Rosh Hashanah, which is our new year, the birthday of the world. And then 10 days later, we have Yom Kippur, the Day of Judgment. So we talk about being sealed in the book of life, being a better person, asking people for forgiveness. If we've harmed someone, we need to go to them and ask them, you know, to work on our relationship and to apologize and figure out where we haven't succeeded in being a good person, and to make sure that we can only be better. And then we have in Judaism, we have lots of holidays, and we live our life really by these holidays. The seasons, we know exactly, you know, when it's fall, when it's spring, we have Passover. So, you know, we live our life by these holidays.
So, Cameron, are you in here?
Yeah, I'm here.
I have a quick question. So I want to talk about Judaism itself.
Okay.
So what do you think would be like the main like goal of Judaism, like the main practice, like the main focus of the religion itself is?
Okay. The main focus, according to Rabbi Hillel, is that which is harmful to you, do not do to anyone else.
Okay.
So similar to the golden rule, that which makes you uncomfortable, that which brings you pain and sorrow and sadness, make sure you don't do that to anyone else. The rest is commentary according to Rabbi Hill. Go and learn. So the object or the reason to be Jewish or what Judaism means is to make room for the other. And the other is anyone that is near you that is in need of anything, food, sustenance, friendship, kindness, and to make sure that you remember this person and that they are also created in the image of God and that we are really one community. So it's a very universal idea.
Okay, thank you. And what would you say are like some of the behavioral codes? How like what's expected of people? I feel like you already kind of touched on it, but like if you can elaborate on it.
Right. So Judaism is less about a faith; it's more about your action. So again, if someone comes to me and they say, "Rabbi, I don't believe in God," or "I do believe in God," or "I have a strong relationship," for me, it's really not important. The most important thing is not their relationship with God; it's what they do. So the most important thing is to be a charitable person, to share. If God has blessed you with wealth, with success, with kindness, with a if you're like an extrovert of happiness, to share all of those things, to make people smile, to make people happy. So to be a kind person, to be an optimistic person, and to have hope that that tomorrow will bring a bright day.
Okay, it makes sense. So, would you say there's like one specific goal, like all Jewish people like work towards, like all like part of the like everybody who's a part of religion works towards, or is it mostly like how you described? It's just like working on your action, trying to be a better person, and that's like the main thing, main goal.
Right. So so traditionally, the main goal of Judaism, again, according to the traditional perspective, is to bring the Messianic age, and the days of the Messiah. And so, how do we bring these days? Is we want to emulate God's ways.
Okay.
And so just as God is loving and kind, that's how we try to act as well. And that's the main, the word that we use is to do a mitzvah. I don't know if you've ever heard of that word before, but a mitzvah is kind of loosely translated as a good deed, but it's more than a good deed. It's an obligation, a commandment. And so in Judaism, you don't choose to do these good deeds. You're obligated to do them. So in the Bible, it says to take care of the orphan, to take care of the widow, to take care of the stranger. That we, as the Jewish community, we were in Egypt for hundreds of years. We know what hardship is like. We know what being enslaved is like, what being in servant. So therefore, when we see anyone that is in pain, that is suffering, that is a struggle, we as the Jewish community, we say we stand beside you and we are here with you.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Who would like to go next? Anybody?
Any questions? Whatever time we have, if you've ever had, what is it? Anything? What is Judaism? Who is a Jew? How do you become Jewish? Anything? Whatever you'd like to ask. This is, I'm so happy to share. So please, this is not only for you, but you can share with other people, your communities, your school, your families. Any questions?
I had one question. I'm sorry it came late, but I was really asking for the holidays. What type of holidays, like, can you name them, please?
Yes. So the holiday we have coming up on Friday is Rosh Hashanah. It's ROSH space HASHANA, which is the New Year. The New Year. It's a very important holiday for us. And then the next holiday is Yom Kippur. YOM space KIPPUR, which is the Day of Atonement, a day of the longest fast of the year. We fast for 25 hours traditionally. And in Judaism, when you say fast, it's also of all liquids. So it's not just, sometimes I say that because people will say a fast is, I'm not going to eat. But in Judaism, that means no water, no fluids. So it's a day to reflect, to atone, and to come together as a community to atone for our sins, And then we have the holiday of Sukkot, which is the harvest festival, where we actually make a booth, like a kind of like a I don't want to call it a tent, but if you come to Temple Beth David, you'll see it. It's kind of like this structure that we make, where we traditionally sleep in it. We sleep outside. And it's like incredible. So this is like during the harvest time where people would be working in the fields, to recall that when you're working in the fields, you're not going to be able to go home, because the fields, are far away. So we make these temporary structures. We live in them. And it's a harvest time, and we have that's just the three big holidays coming up. But of course, Passover, maybe if you've heard before, which is the Exodus from Egypt. That story as well. We have Shavuot. I think in English it's Pentecost, the Festival of Weeks. So there are many. Again, in Judaism, we have many many holidays.
Yeah. Okay. And
When. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. Just go ahead.
No, you can go.
Okay. I was asking, like, in Judaism, is it like Christianity, or what is the difference between Judaism and Christianity?
So Christianity is derived from Judaism. Judaism, when you think about the other, so we call these the Abrahamic faith traditions. Because Judaism, we call Abraham Avraham, the father of many nations. The Islamic faith tradition is Ibrahim, and in Christianity also Abraham. The story of Christianity really, in Judaism, it was a traditional sect of Judaism. The early Christianity was. The end of Christianity, really, in regards to Judaism, is we believe that Jesus did live. We believe that Jesus was a cultural figure that during the time of the Romans was telling people to, similar to Isaiah, if you look at the speeches of, if you map the speeches of Jesus onto the prophet Isaiah, they're very similar. And specifically the Sermon on the Mount is very similar to Isaiah. And so in Judaism, we believe that Jesus existed. I'm not going to deny that he did not, that he existed. But the end of the story for the Jewish individual is when Jesus was tried by the Romans and crucified and killed by the Romans. In Judaism, we do not believe in the resurrection. So therefore, we don't believe in what is called the New Testament, the Christian Bible. In Judaism, we just have the old, what we don't call it the Old Testament, because then if you call something old, in effect, you're saying there's something that's new. So we call it the Hebrew Bible, and which is called the Torah.
Okay. Oh, the Torah. Okay.
Right.
And you. Sorry.
No, I'm so sorry.
No, please. Any questions?
Okay. When you go, just go. It's not that.
Okay. So when worshiping, is there like any type of specific clothing that needs to be worn?
So we wear like a yarmulke, like a kippah, so a head covering. We wear a head covering. I usually wear a hat. I always kind of have a baseball cap on or something. Not for worship. For worship, actually, I wear the yarmulke, and then also a prayer shawl. And both men and women can wear both these items, these clothing articles of clothing, and we dress like business oriented. So we wear shirts and ties, or we want to dress. I don't want to say dress to impress, but the idea is that however, let's say it's hard to say this now because let's say Google. If you're familiar with people that work for Google, I have friends that work at Google, and they you can wear flip flops and like a hoodie to work. But traditionally, what I would say is, let's say you get a job interview. What type of clothes would you wear to the job interview? Mm-hmm. So those same types of clothes you would wear to the prayer service. You want to look your best. So, I wear, sometimes I wear suits, but I usually always wear a shirt and a tie.
Okay.
And I have one question. Between Judaism and Muslim, since you have a little bit of as in you kind of common, do you like do the women are the women accepted to worship in the temple?
Good question. So yes, so I am the rabbi of a Reform temple. So that means, again, in Judaism, there are different sects of Judaism. So the one that I'm not a Reform rabbi, but the rabbi that I'm employed, the temple that employs me is a Reform temple. So that means that yes, men and women all sit together, men and women pray together, and we use the word egalitarian, which means that everyone is equal, and everyone can do anything interchangeably. So sometimes maybe if you go to a mosque, that women could be wherever, men might pray up front, women might be in the back or to the side, and where the and similarly, also in Orthodox Judaism, women would be there would be a barrier where the women would be as well, or they could be elevated. Sometimes there's like a mezzanine, an upper area, an upper tier, where women would be as well. But at Temple Beth David, no. If you come and visit, everything, and you're more. All of you are invited to come and visit. Once right now we're closed with COVID-19, but everything, all of the pews are open to everyone to come together.
Okay. I had another question regarding worshiping. Is it like required of, because I know you mentioned earlier that you're kind of required to pray like 3 times a day. So is it like something everybody's supposed to do, and are there like more kinds of worship everybody's required of?
So traditionally, yes, you are required to pray 3 times a day. You're required to say blessings before we have blessings for everything, literally everything. Blessings when we wake up in the morning, blessings when we exit a restroom. We have blessings when when we see a rainbow in the sky, when we hear thunder, lightning. We have blessings for everything. So. But again, as a Reform temple, that's where at Temple Beth David, the majority of people come to the Friday night service, which is called the Shabbat service, and the Saturday morning service. So those services are, and this is for Judaism around the world, are are the most popular service, the Shabbat service.
That everybody is required to attend, everybody who practices their religion?
I'd love to say required, but it's not necessarily required. But I hope that they would attend. And the beautiful thing about this Shabbat service is it's the same everywhere in the world. So if I travel, I speak Hebrew, but I don't speak. Here's an example. I don't speak French. So if I went to France and I was there for Shabbat, and I went to a synagogue or a temple, and they were speaking to me in French, and I would just say, I'm a rabbi, and they say, oh, well, let's say someone spoke English, and they said, well, Rabbi, can you lead the service? I would say yes. And the service is the same everywhere, in every city, in every country around the world. So that, I think, in Judaism, that makes it very special, because no matter where I travel to, anywhere in the world, once I say I'm a rabbi, and I could go to any continent, any country, and they say, Rabbi, lead, I can lead the service, and everyone can follow along, and everyone can understand. Now, when I give a sermon, that would be, I would have to have someone translate when I gave a sermon, but the prayers are canonized from the rabbinic tradition for thousands of years. So this, as an example, this is a prayer book, and it's in Hebrew, which is the language that we pray in, and it's the same. This prayer book is in the same if I go to South America, if I go to Africa, if I go to Europe, Australia, it's the same prayer book.
Okay, so Hebrew is like the main language of the religion. It's the one you guys used to pray for, like universally all around. It's like the language,
right?
That everybody,
Exactly. So as an example, let's say in Islam, the Quran is in Arabic. No matter what country you go to, it's in Arabic.
Muslim,
it doesn't
so,
matter where you travel.
Yeah.
So for us as Jewish people as well, it's the language that we worship in, the language of our Bible. So everything is in Hebrew.
Yeah, and you're supposed to like kind of like memorize like the prayers, like everybody's supposed to, or just like the rabbis are supposed to, like when you're praying.
So I don't want to talk myself out of a job because I enjoy being a rabbi,
Yeah.
but there's really not a need. The rabbi is usually the most educated person on about the faith, but the rabbi is the same as everybody else. You know, there's no difference. So everyone is obligated to educate themselves in the faith, about the faith, and on the faith. And usually, you know, here as an example, you know, I have members or people that are interested about Judaism, and they come to me and they say, Rabbi, I want to convert to Judaism, or I want to learn about Judaism, but I don't know any Hebrew. So I say, that's okay. On Tuesday night, I teach Hebrew. So they can come, or I'll do it on Zoom. So I teach all the prayers, the meaning of the prayers. I teach the language. And that's usually the responsibility of the rabbi, to educate everyone about the faith and also how to access the prayers.
Okay, that makes sense.
I wanted to ask, like, kind of how did your faith journey come about?
So I was born Jewish. I say I was born Jewish, but also I chose to be Jewish. So again, you can be born Jewish, or you can also convert into the faith. And I was not a religious Jewish person. I was culturally Jewish for a very long time. I moved to Israel after I finished high school. I lived in Israel for 4 years. I was in the military, in the Israeli military, for 3 of the years. I studied at Hebrew University, which is in Jerusalem. Met a girl there. Now the girl's now my wife. And then when I was an undergraduate, I was needed kind of income. Many people work in school, and so I worked in a Wednesday school and a Sunday school at a local temple. And I became friendly with the rabbi, and my parents are also Jewish educators. They're not rabbis. Men and women can also be rabbis. It's not like in other faith traditions. You're not gonna see a woman that's a Catholic priest, or an imam that's a woman.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, it's not allowed.
So, but in Judaism, men and women are equal. Again, as I said, that both can be rabbis. And so I met a rabbi that I became friendly with, and this rabbi kind of said I should, hey, I was great with kids and teaching, and I was also knowledgeable about Judaism. As I mentioned, my parents are Jewish educators, and I took the step. And after I finished high school and the army, and then college, went to seminary.
Thank you.
Are there rituals that you perform?
Yes. So I perform all rituals except for one. So the one ritual, and I'm sure you've heard of this ritual, in Hebrew it's called the Brit Milah. The Brit Milah is the circumcision in English. So when a male baby is 8 days or older, there is a circumcision, and I perform the ritual component of the service, but the actual surgery would be performed by a medical doctor. But other than that, funerals, life cycle events, all of those things I perform.
Like the rituals for the religion.
Wait 1 second. I'm sorry.
Okay.
1 second. Can you repeat?
Okay, I had a question. I was asking the rituals about which the people who are attending need to perform. Is it like the ritual of purification, something of the sort? Are there others? There are rituals which are mandatory for one to perform as a believer. As a believer.
As a believer, so I perform the services. I read from the Torah, and I do the worship service. I do. We also have like a cantorial soloist, someone that does the music. God did not gift me with. I was not gifted with a beautiful voice, so I have someone that does the singing, and luckily my wife is sings very nicely. So usually she helps me when I need to sing something. I usually ask her to sing it. I do the readings, and I deliver the sermon. And then also we have something like in other faith traditions here, in Islam, there's halal food. So in Judaism we have food that's called kosher, which is interesting. So followers of Islam can eat kosher food. So kosher food is halal, but people that keep kosher, we don't. I mean, we don't eat halal food. And so what does that mean? I don't do this as well, but it means that the animal, one is what animals we can eat. So again, we're not allowed to eat all animals, but also how the animal is slaughtered. So the animal has to be slaughtered as painless as possible. So and also another thing that's pretty pervasive in this country is, let's say, people eat maybe cheeseburgers or pizza with pepperoni. So Jewish people try to refrain from milk and meat together in the same meal. And also we don't eat pork products or shellfish. There's other foods that we don't eat as well, but those are the two main types of food.
Okay. And before I read it in the Bible, in the Torah, it used to say, the Old Testament. The purification, do you still do the purification after giving birth, after every period each month of a lady? Are those purifications still done and to this date?
Yeah. Okay. So great question. So yes, the purifications are still done. I don't do those. I don't need to be there. So yes, after a cycle, after a woman has the 7 days of the cycle, then we have 7 clean days. And again, this is in more of a traditional approach, but women do go to a ritual bath and they immerse in a bath. Before a wedding, a woman would go into a bath. Men can also go to the bath and we have them. We have them here in Atlanta. We don't have any in Gwinnett County, but we can go and visit them. They're they're private. You might not know what they look like from the outside, and of course they're segregated, as in men can only go to the men's side, women can only go to the women's side, and they're very private, and no one. Usually it's one at a time or something, but yes, that ritual from the Torah still happens today.
Okay, that's great. And do you mind teaching us a chorus of the Hebrew song?
A Hebrew song, yeah, for sure. So the Hebrew song is Oseh, which means to make peace, Bimromav, the maker of peace. It goes like this: Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, which means he who makes. He is. We use a gender pronoun, like a masculine pronoun for God, but God can be a woman, so you can say she, you can say it. God has no gender. So, but the song is Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. God that makes peace on high should make peace here on earth for all of us, and let us say Amen. So it goes like this: Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. So it's a Hebrew song that we sing. And in Judaism, we talk about peace and pray about peace all the time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any more questions before we have to end it?
Oh, I have another question. The last one, are there forms of punishment, like the one like they were before, back in the olden days, where one will be stoned to death? Yeah, they committed something like adultery and other
Right.
other.
So no. So in Judaism, we do have courts. So again, we do have Jewish courts that one can go to. It's called a Beit Din. We go to them if you're converting to Judaism. If you have an issue, with someone, let's say of the faith, you would go to. And again, this is more of a traditional understanding that you would go to a court. But there are no punishments. But the idea is to, is in Judaism is to keep it within the family, so to speak, to keep it within the community. So if you have an issue, as an example, let's say I have two people in my congregation that have an issue with each other for whatever reason. Okay, maybe whatever they don't like each other, and one wants to sue the other one. So I would hope before they, have litigation and go to the court system, I would hope that they would come to me and they say, Rabbi, we have a problem. Can you sit with both of us and listen to our grievances and help us mediate this issue? But there's no punishment. No one can get kicked out of Judaism. Once you're Jewish, you are always Jewish. You don't carry a card like some faith traditions. Maybe you carry like a membership card. In Judaism, there's no membership card. But being part of the Jewish community also, there's benefits. That wherever you travel around the world, you can go. I mean, here's an example. If someone comes to me here in Snellville and they say, Rabbi, I'm Jewish and I need help financially, and maybe I don't even know who they are. Maybe I've never seen them before, but they come to me and they come to my office and they say, Rabbi, I'm Jewish and I'm having a difficult time. Can you help me out with something? Can you help me pay my mortgage this month? I would say, I'll see what I can do. And maybe I've never seen them before. And if I travel around the world, so when you're part of the Jewish community, it extends beyond Snellville, beyond Atlanta, beyond this country. So there's also something here in Atlanta and in many cities around this country called the Jewish Free Loan. That all of you are in college, so if a Jewish student is graduating high school and they're having difficulty paying for college. We know that college is very expensive. It's a burden for many people. And let's say this Jewish student is struggling to pay for college. They can go to the Jewish Free Loan of Atlanta and they can get an interest-free loan. They have to pay it back, but it's an interest-free loan that will help the student, and they have to qualify and show that they're in need, but they can get an interest-free loan that will assist them to pay for their college tuition. So it's part of, we don't call it charity in Judaism, we call it tzedakah. So tzedakah, the word means righteousness. And so we're obligated to share and to even people that we don't know, we're obligated to share, and that's how we make this world a better place. To share with others and to create a global community of love.
I just got here, but I wanted to introduce myself real quick. I'm Anthony. I had the wrong Zoom call. Sorry about that. Can my group tell me if we already went over the three that I was doing, or we already went over those three?
Yeah, he kind of discussed like all different like aspects of like whatever was on the site report, but yeah, there's like a few more questions I have for him if you'd like to answer them still. Like, what would you say, like, because I remember you saying like for the ultimate reality for Judaism, like you said for the Messiah, like it's for the return of Messiah. So can you like expand on that a little bit more? Like, what do the Jewish people expect for like afterlife or after death and stuff?
So in Judaism, we believe there's an afterlife, but we don't really care about the afterlife. It's not something that we focus on.
Okay.
We focus on the here and the now. So everything that we do is for today.
Okay.
We get benefit to do these obligations today. So it's not, we don't focus on what will be. We focus on the here and the now. So the afterlife is not something that we really pray about. We don't think about. I mean, we believe in a world to come, but God forbid we're not in a rush. No, nobody wants to get to the world to come. So I mean, we say in Judaism, one of our most famous kind of ways to, I just had my birthday, and my wife has a birthday, and my daughter next month has a birthday. So it doesn't matter how old you are, but one of the kind of sayings that we say to people on birthdays is, may you live and be well until 120. And that's why, and because Moses lived until 120, so the idea is we want everyone to live until they're 120. So in Judaism, we don't, maybe you've heard that phrase before. I'm willing to die for that. Have you heard that phrase? That phrase before? That's something I believe in, and I'll die for that cause.
Yeah.
In Judaism, we never say that. We say I'm willing to live for that cause. That's something that I'm going to live for, that I'll fight for, that I will never die for that cause, but I will continue to fight for that cause. But life is the most important thing that we cherish. And we have many rules and laws in Judaism. We have 613 commandments. But God forbid, if someone is in need and their life is under duress, we throw out all of those rules and laws to save the person.
So kind of tying into that, so you think like the key virtue, like the main virtue of the religion would be like life, I guess, and like focusing on being a better person in the present?
Yeah, for sure. I think life is something that we hold on to. Life and also hope in Judaism, that you have to have hope. And that's the idea of this messianic age, or that tomorrow will be a better day, or sacrifice. In Judaism, we're not commanded, but ideally we get partnered. So here I'm a rabbi. Traditionally, you could not be a rabbi if you were not partnered.
Okay.
So it's not like we're commanded to be partnered, to have children, to celebrate life. In some faith traditions, people are celibate. Not in Judaism. In Judaism, we need to find people, fall in love with people, have relationships with people, have children, and be a part of the world.
How do you greet each other in Judaism? How do you greet each other in Judaism?
So similar to, I guess, that of the Islamic faith, that we say shalom, shalom alechem. Just like salam alechem, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but in Judaism we say shalom alechem, peace be upon you, and the response is alechem hashalom, is peace be upon you. So when we see someone, we say shalom. Shalom is like a tripartite, a three-part word, which means hello, goodbye, and peace. And so when we see someone, we wish them shalom. So it means hello, but it also means peace. And so when we see a people, we say shalom alechem, which means peace be upon you. And the response when we say that is and alechem hashalom, and peace be upon you.
So you went over that there's 617 commandments? 613 commandments. What would you say are like the main, most important ones that you would need to follow to be, so obviously no killing or...
Well, killing's interesting. We actually, so one of the 10 commandments is actually, it's in Judaism we believe it's the word itself is lo ta'arog, which is do not murder. So in Judaism, actually, so in Judaism we're not allowed to, God forbid, murder.